Hey guys! I'm here with a book talk because I've been reading a lot of YA contemporary lately, as you've seen in my previous videos. But this one is a little different because I only have 2 books, and I usually like to stick with 3. But these 2 books were special because I loved them both, and I gave them both 5 stars, which, if you've been watching me for a while, you know these will be the first 2 books that I've given 5 stars in basically since I started this channel, and I thought that they deserved their own video. The first book I gave 5 stars was We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. This is not the first Nina LaCour book I've read. I read and own Hold Still, and I think that's also a 5-star read for me. But this one I enjoyed even more. The premise is that this girl Marin is an orphan and she lives with her grandfather. And her grandfather dies right before she goes off to college. So she leaves for college a few weeks early and basically cuts off that whole part of her life and doesn't go home and doesn't deal with it. And it's about her grieving process and her best friend who comes to visit her over winter break as she stays at school because she has nowhere else to go. This was absolutely stunning. I loved every moment of reading this, and it's a very short book. It's less than 250 pages, and you can see like it's clearly very small, so it's a quick read, but it's so beautiful. I love Nina LaCour's writing style so much, and it's one of those, like, I just want to keep reading it forever, but she ends it at the perfect point, and everything about this book was lovely. There's not a whole lot of plot in this, like, it's very character driven, and it's about the character development rather than anything really specific going on. Like, there is a little bit of plot of her friend trying to get her to come back home and live with her parents over breaks and stuff, like while she's at college, so she's not completely on her own. But it's mostly about the grieving process and her learning to live with the fact that her grandfather was not exactly who he said he was, and that their relationship was not what she thought, and that now she's truly on her own. And oh my god, it was so beautiful. Like, I don't know how else to describe it other than beautiful and lovely and stunning. The characters were so well crafted, from Mabel to Marin to Mabel's parents and the grandfather, and even the roommate who wasn't in this story much at all, except for a few mentions and a brief cameo at the beginning. It was so lovely, and I was so invested in all of their lives, and it's possible that I cried at the end a little bit. And it takes a lot to make me cry, so I feel like this book would make a lot of people cry. If you want a good cry, I highly recommend. But the relationship between the 2 girls especially was so well done and so realistic. They were best friends, but they did date, kind of. They had an intense romantic relationship for a few months before they left for college. And I don't know if they were, like, officially dating. It was kind of light on the details. But they are no more. They are no longer dating in this book because they haven't spoken in months and months. Since August, when her grandfather died. They haven't spoken since then. Marin's been ignoring all these texts. They're basically regressing in their relationship and friendship. And they have to stop regressing and then start moving forward again. And it's not the same relationship they had before, and I thought Nina LaCour did an amazing job writing that. And it felt so realistic, and the way they didn't just immediately jump back into, well, now we're together again and we're still in love and everything is fine. It's like, no, you betrayed my trust. Like, we have to rebuild what we had, and we possibly can't ever have it again. And oh my god, I loved this book. I want to own this book. This is one of those books that I read and I considered just immediately rereading it, except it left me feeling so emotionally raw, and it was so beautiful that, like, I almost didn't want to repeat that. And I do highly, highly recommend this if you're looking for a young adult book dealing with grief. I thought it was absolutely stunning. The second book that I gave 5 stars was All the Rage by Courtney Summers. And I know this book came out, I think it came out about 2 years ago, and it was incredibly hyped back then, and I heard amazing things. And then more recently, I've heard more mediocre things about it. Just that as the hype wore off, it seemed people didn't love it as much as it was originally said. And my excitement for it kind of waned a bit. I started this at 2 a.m. expecting that I was gonna read a couple of chapters and then head off to bed because I was tired. At about 5 a.m., I blinked and realized I'd finished the book and I was coming out of this sort of dreamlike state and reality didn't really feel normal. It was so, so good. This book was absolutely breathtaking. I'm pretty sure I didn't breathe for about half of it. It was that good. I will say that the summary of this book is a little bit off. It's a lot about how the sheriff's boy isn't the golden boy that everyone thinks he is, blah blah blah, and he's the one who raped her. And it's honestly not about that at all. It's more about her friend's disappearance and her learning to cope with her rape and dealing with the bullying that goes on. And it's not just bullying, like the entire social ostracization by the entire community. And it was so much better than I expected it to be. And I didn't want to stop reading it. The writing in this is so beautiful. I forget how much I appreciate beautiful, beautiful writing that's almost poetic. Like, some of my favorite books are novels or memoirs that have been written by poets. And this felt like that. And the same with LaCour's book. I'm fine with, like, functional writing, like most commercial fiction and most young adult is. But with books like this and books like We Are Okay, it's so, so refreshing to read. It's honestly the kind of writing that always made me not want to write anything, because with something like this exists in the universe, nothing else needs to be created. And I was invested in this from start to finish. Like, I don't think I put it down even once for this entire book. It was very light on plot and heavy on characters as the driving force of this novel, like with We Are Okay, so clearly I have a type in the books that I like. But the characters, when they're so well crafted and so interesting and you care so much about them, I don't care about the plot. I want to follow them. I want to see what happens to them and how they change. And this book was amazing in that regard. Like, just the way the characters kept developing. It was gorgeous. I wanted to follow them for another month. Like, I was disappointed when this book ended. Like, not because of how or where it ended, but just because I wasn't reading it anymore. And it's not the kind of book I wanted to just, like, pick up and reread again, because just, like, emotionally, I was so tapped out. I don't think this one made me cry, but I think it might have made me tear up a little bit. It really hit me hard emotionally. And it's very heavy trigger warnings for rape in this, because there is a lot of discussion on that. And it's a difficult book to read, but it's one of those books that, as difficult and emotional as it was, I'll read it again probably. It was amazing, and I highly, highly recommend it. If you somehow did not read this when it was super popular 2 years ago and had just come out, you should give it a try now. It surpassed all the hype, in all honesty. Like, I heard good things when it came out, and I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting, I want to read it. But if I had known what this was going to be like, I wouldn't have waited 2 years. I would have read it. I would have had it ages and ages ago, and I'm slightly disappointed that I've missed out on 2 years where I could have been rereading this book. I feel like it's one of those books that my life has improved having read it. 5 stars. 5 stars for both of these. I highly recommend them both. I cannot recommend them enough, and y'all know how picky I am about books and giving books 5 stars. These were both 100% 5 stars. I adored them, and I really cannot recommend either of them enough, especially if you like character-driven young adult. These were beautiful. I'd also like to say, if you know of any books like these, in the way that the writing is very beautiful and they're very character-driven and the characters are incredibly well crafted, feel free to recommend them below, because I would love to read more books like this. And also let me know what you guys thought of these books, if you've read them, and if you love them as much as I do. And if not, tell me why you're wrong and why you don't love them as much as I do, because they were flawless. And thank y'all for watching. Bye!